emergency fund. Why do we need an emergency fund? So first of all, what is it? It is money for minor emergencies. Okay, we have needs. There's a difference between needs and wants. Okay, the difference is this: needs are things that you cannot live without: food, shelter, transportation, clothing. Okay? You cannot live without. So the question, ask the question: Can I live without this? If I can live without this, it's not a need. You follow? It's a want. I want it, and nothing wrong with wanting wants. Okay, except that we don't go into debt to get wants. If I want something badly enough, I'll save and buy it, right? Versus getting immediate gratification and then finding myself deep in debt because I've got too many things that I wanted and wanted and wanted. All right. So it is to address wants when there's a disruption of income. Okay, when something happens and that need is disrupted. All right. So why do you need it? Because life happens. Okay. Everything is going along smoothly, and I went to the dentist the other day, regular checkup, and he said I got bad news. And my dentist is very, very sophisticated. I met him about 10 years ago at a Business Network International where people get together to share business cards. And he was a young dentist, but he's no longer young and he's no longer poor. He's very rich. And he's got all these gizmos there. So I'm sitting there in the chair and he says, let me show it to you. And he pulls up the screen and he says, this is where the problem is. And this is what it's going to cost. So I had to pay him $56 for that privilege of telling me it's going to cost me a few thousands of dollars. Right? But these things happen. And he's just telling, he gave me option A, option B, option C. But every one of those options are in the thousands of dollars. Right? Where's the money going to come from? So this is where, even if you are responsible, okay, you will get into debt if you do not have emergency funds because life happens. You get up in the morning, as long as there's wear and tear, as long as there's accidents, okay, things will go wrong, okay. Some we can foresee, right, but some we can't. I mean, there are expenses. There's always going to be vacation time. There's always going to be Christmas. Those things are coming up. We don't have to go into debt for those things. You follow? But emergencies will occur, okay, for your food, for your transportation, for your health, physical and dental, right? So this is why we need this. So how much do you put aside? Again, as a financial advisor, we've always grappled with this, and the experts say 3 to 6 months, 3 to 6 months. I say 6 months. Even then, it's not enough, and we tie it in with the waiting periods of the insurances that we're buying. Those of you who've attended the previous sessions, for instance, disability insurance or even long-term care insurance, some of the features of those insurance was a waiting period, okay? And the longer your waiting period before the insurance kicks in, the lower the premiums. And because we are building a 6-month emergency fund, when we buy those insurances, we choose it with a 6-month waiting period, right? Why? Because those are events that may or may not occur. Okay? And if they do occur, we've got our 6-month emergency funds to tide us over without wasting money unnecessarily. All right? So how much? 6 months. Where do you put this? Okay, this is where in previous sessions I would have done this in the first half, but because this is a session entirely on emergency funds, we're going to do this. So you've got a 6-month emergency fund. So how do you distribute that 6 months? Remember when we were doing the debt snowball, we said that one of the criteria of the reverse debt one of the conditions of the reverse debt snowball was if you're in a hole, you got to throw the shovel away, stop digging, and freeze your credit cards. Okay, so the workaround is part of the emergency fund. So what you're going to do is you're going to take 1 month's worth of what you need. Okay, so let me explain what I mean by 1 month's worth of your monthly income requirement. On your tables, you have a budget sheet, which we recommend that you do as part of your action steps. And a budget sheet basically, what it does is you have a monthly budget. What you need on a monthly basis for food, shelter, transportation, clothing, and whatever other expense that you might have. If you take our budget sheet and if you put numbers on everything that applies to you, right at the bottom you're going to get a total number. Okay? For most people, the rule of thumb is this. If you are a single individual, okay, you need $1,000 a month for your needs. Okay? This is basic. We're talking food, shelter, transportation, clothing. I'm not talking about wants, okay, things that you cannot live without. You need $1,000. If you're a couple, that's $2,000, right? Now, every third person in the family add $500. Okay, so if you've got a family of 4, mom, dad, and 2 kids, you're looking at $3,000 minimum. You need monthly for food, shelter, transportation, clothing, okay? Just for the basics. Now, having said that, let's take somebody who needs $2,000 a month. 6 times that is $12,000, okay? This is not an investment, okay? This is money that has to be in a savings account that is readily accessible, okay? And the way that we're going to distribute that 6 months is like this. You're going to take 1 month's worth and you're going to put it on a BMO MasterCard. BMO prepaid MasterCard. Okay? Now, again, coming back to the reverse DAT snowball, we've frozen our regular credit cards. So the workaround is you're going to go to bmo.com and under the credit cards tab, pull that down, and amongst all the credit cards, you're going to see something called a prepaid travel card. Okay? Click on that and apply for it. Within 2 weeks, you'll get it in the mail. You'll get a little credit card in the mail with your name on it. Okay? But it's not a regular credit card. Okay? It is a prepaid credit card. It was meant for people who could not qualify for credit, but we are using it in a very creative way. Okay? So you get that credit card, and like a Tim Hortons card, what you need to do then is, if you are used to online banking, go online and set them up as a payee and load money onto that card. If you don't want to do that, walk into a Bank of Montreal, say, look, I've got this prepaid MasterCard, I'd like to load money on it. Okay? Give them whatever, 1 month's worth. If you need $2,000 a month, put in $2,000. The first $9.95 will be eaten up as fees, okay? Because that's the 3-year card, and they charge you $9.95 for that privilege. Big deal. So you're paying $3.30 a year for a card. That's better than paying 19.99% per month, okay, on a balance, all right? So pay that, and going forward, whenever you need to use a credit card, okay, you're renting a vehicle out of town or renting a vehicle and they absolutely want a credit card, do not yank out anything but this. Okay, this is a credit card. Wherever MasterCard is accepted online or elsewhere, this will be accepted. So you put 1 month's worth on it, or gradually build up to it. Okay, start with $100, and every spare dollar that you have, put 1 month's worth on that. Okay. The second place that you put is you take 1 month's worth and you put it into a CIBC Visa debit. Now this is a relatively new thing, CIBC Visa debit. About 2 months ago, 3 months ago, in the U.S., they have Visa. In the U.S., they have Visa credit and Visa debit. Okay, but in Canada, we have Visa credit and we have our convenience cards, right? They don't have Visa debit because I suspect because they don't make as much money as from credit, so they don't want to promote this. Nonetheless, about 2-3 months ago, I banked with CIBC, and they started having this. Okay, now you have a Visa debit with CIBC. So if you go to any CIBC bank, walk in there, open the most basic checking account, which I opened, which was $3.90 a month. Okay, and that gives you a very basic checking account, the most basic checking account with 10 transactions, and they'll tie that into one of these. It's like the prepaid MasterCard, except this is a Visa. Okay, so take 1 month's worth of what you need on a monthly basis. So if I need $2,000 a month according to my budget, I load 1 month's worth into my CIBC Visa. All right. So I've got 1 month in my CIBC Visa, and I've got 1 month's worth in my. So now, the work around the credit. Given my credit cards are in my freezer, in my back pocket, I have a prepaid BMO MasterCard, and I have a CIBC Visa debit, right? So whenever I need to use debit, whenever I need to use a credit card, that is what I use. Okay, so if my car breaks down, I go into the garage or I go see my dentist, and he tells me it's $1,000. Okay, I cannot have gaps in my teeth, so I need to pay this. So I'll pay with my, okay? Then I'm not using someone else's money. I'm using my emergency fund because this is a need, not a want. You follow? So you have that. Now the other 4 months worth, you're going to put into an account called the tax-free savings account, okay? In 2009, the government of Canada came up with this concept called the tax-free savings account. Okay, they want to encourage people to save money for their retirement. And what they did was they said, starting 2009, every Canadian resident, if you're 18 and above, okay, you are allowed to save up to $5,000 a year, and the interest on that earnings are not taxable. Because if you open a savings account and you put in, you know, if I need $2,000 a month and I put $12,000 into a savings account, at the end of the year I'm going to get a T5. Okay, to report if I earn interest of more than $100, I'm going to get a T5, which has to be reported on top of my employment income or other sources of income, and it throws me into a higher tax bracket. You follow? Whereas in a tax-free account, you do not get a T5. Okay, so wherever you bank, open a tax-free savings account, right? Put 1 month's worth in the BMO MasterCard. Put 1 month's worth in the via CIBC Visa debit, and 4 months worth in the tax-free savings account. Now, if you do it through us, we deal with Manulife Bank. Okay, and that's the reason I prefer that, because Manulife Bank is a virtual bank. It's one of the life insurance companies that I deal with, and the way that it's set up is you cannot have access to the money until 24 hours. So if, let's say, my regular operating account is with CIBC, my regular checking account, I set up my TFSAs with Manulife, okay? Then whenever I need to move money into, I can do it online, I can do it by phone, right? But to move money from my tax-free savings account back into my checking account, I need 24 hours. So you've got this cooling off period to really decide if it's an emergency, right? Before you take money out. Okay? But it's only 24 hours you can access the money. A lot of emergencies, you know, some you can even foresee they're coming. Okay? So I like that for that reason, but that's a moot point. Okay? The idea is have a TFSA account and put 4 months worth in there. All right? Okay. So that, you know, is how you do it. So 6 months worth, and when you use an emergency fund, okay, in the 10 steps to financial freedom, okay, we began our emergency fund in step number 3, $1,000. Then we worked through the debt snowball, we maxed out our insurance, okay. Then we came to step number 6, where we are maxing out the emergency fund up to 6 months, all right? Now, I want to show you something here. When, you know, the hardest part of the 10 steps, okay, are the first 5 steps. In fact, the first 4 steps, depending on your debt situation, right? But once you get here and you've resolved the insurance, and especially if you set it up properly, okay, this is gone. You'll never have to revisit that again, okay? You burn that bridge away, provided, you know, you don't, you know, entertain any more debt and whatnot. I'm saying, you know, it's like somebody who's an alcoholic and goes off the bottle and he walks into a bar. I mean, you're asking for trouble, right? You know, especially when you go in the direction that we are suggesting that you go, lenders, you know, will come after you. You know, you are their prime candidate because your credit score is going to go up like crazy, and they're all going to know about you. Okay? They're going to keep coming at you with offers of credit and all kinds of incentive. You know, don't do it. Okay? You know, there should be no dilemma. You know, if I offer you a cigarette right now, if you're a non-smoker, I mean, you don't have to agonize over. I was a smoker before, right? And as I was getting out of smoking, you know, one of the struggles with smoking is it's very addictive. You follow? And it's hard to refuse a cigarette. But, you know, the dilemma with smokers is, I remember when I was trying to stop the smoke, there was always, you know, this agony to whether to smoke or not to smoke. Okay? You will never have that here. Okay? So whatever offers they give you, just say simply, you know, graciously and, you know, politely say, no, thank you. Okay? Don't do that. We don't do that. Right? But if you you know, if you do the first 5 steps, okay, the rest of your remaining life, you are hovering between here. You know why? Because once you've built your 6-month emergency fund, you start maxing out your RSPs, RESPs, TFSAs, you pay off your mortgage, then you're into investing, okay? And because our goal is a very ambitious goal, $10 million, we do not stop investing until we've got $10 million. You know, it sounds crazy. But in the book, The Millionaire Next Door, okay, the guy said that true millionaires, true rich people do not spend money, okay? And you know, if you haven't read the book, read it. It's a real eye-opener, okay? He said that when he researched multi-millionaires, right, he found that the average millionaire does not spend more than $300 on a suit, business suit, right? So the question is, who spends the money on the Armani, thousands of dollars Armani suits? Okay. Celebrities and people who do not have money. They put it on their credit card. You follow? The millionaires buy off the rack. Okay, so the point that I'm making to you is, until you, and you'll see that in your action step, don't drop the ball, okay? Don't act rich when you're not rich. When you've got $10 million of net worth, then you've earned that privilege. You follow? But before you get that, before you get there, do not spend $2 where you can spend $1. Continue to be frugal, 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 right? Now, while you're doing that, life is going to happen, okay? A year is going to go by, 2 years is going to go by, 3 years go, nothing happened, and boom, all of a sudden, 1, 2, 3, 4 emergencies come. You stop step number 9, you go back to step number 6 because you would have used up your emergency fund, right? Replenish it, then you're back to step number 9. You follow? Suspend any of the other steps. If you are resolved not to ever do debt again, okay, and your insurance is in place, and you've got a 6-month, all of the first 5 steps have been done, you'll never have to go back there. Rest of your remaining life, you're hovering here. Okay? 6, 7, 8, 9. 6, 7, 8, 9. If you if you have a high source of income, okay, you are starting very early, you'll get there. Okay? And once you've got there, you'll never have to go back there again. Because look, when you've got a net worth of $10 million and we give you a 4.375% guarantee, you know, it's never going to be an issue again. You follow? You are there, you know, you sort of escaped gravity already, financial gravity. You're up in the air. All right? Are you with me? Okay. So with that, I'll take any questions that you might have. Mm-hmm.
And you have to repay that and punish that in
Into your emergency fund, yes, absolutely.
So then do you do that on a small, like $200 a month until it's built up again, or
what you're able to do, okay? So we are very focused here. Once the emergency fund, it's you in a very, because we don't know when the next emergency is going to come up. So the priority, whenever you've, let's say I'm at step number 7, okay? I'm at step number 7 and I'm, you know, with every spare dollar that I'm having, that I have, above and beyond my needs, I'm maxing out my RRSPs, RESPs. Then this happens, okay? I suspend my RRSPs, okay? I go back and replenish the emergency fund before another emergency occurs. You follow? Because if you do not have an emergency fund, you're going to go into debt. You don't have a choice for needs, right? Not for wants, right? Does that answer your question?